Wow, y'all are. I'm Justin Wilson, and this is Louisiana Cooking. Y'all come on down now and have the best gumbo. I guarantee. That was a nice little greeting from a cooking show I watched a lot as a child in the 90s on PBS. It was Justin Wilson, Louisiana Cooking, one of the best cooking shows on TV. This was before the Food Network really took off. So PBS was the only place where you could watch cooking shows. And I didn't have cable satellite, till 1996. So yeah, that was the place to be. And by the way, the theme music is Blues Waltz, which Justin Wilson was a great chef. He was also a great jazz musician. So he composed the theme music to the, what you're at the beginning and ending credits of those particular show. Okay, but I'm not here to talk about cooking shows as the main idea. I'm actually here to talk about politics. And yesterday, I was on a break at my job, and I was going through my Facebook feed on my phone. And I found a very disturbing blog post by, believe it or not, the Daily Haymaker. Usually, the Daily Haymaker produces really good, well-written, factual blog post. Okay? And I usually agree with, the guy's name is Brant Clifton. I usually agree with him probably 90-95% of the time. However, the article he posted yesterday is called "How Many Votes to Impeach Dallas?" I vehemently disagree with him. So I'm not going to read you the whole thing. You can go on Daily Haymaker and read it yourself if you want, but I'm going to hit the highlights. It says, the state Republican Party executive director raised the possibility that state Supreme Court justices could be impeached if they ruled against legislative leaders in a lawsuit over constitutional amendments. Dallas Woodhouse, who's the state Republican Party executive director, he made those remarks at a NC Free Enterprise Foundation event, that's a mouthful, happened yesterday on Friday. And then in a later interview with the Raleigh News and Disturber, aka Observer, he said he wasn't threatening the justices, but is concerned about what would happen if they rule against legislative leaders. He said, quote, "It would be an evisceration of separation of powers," end quote. Now, then we have a, little cheap shot, unfortunately, by the Haymaker. Says Dallas got his practice in he has lynching, and he crossed it out. Says Dallas got his practice in impeachment with his brazen attacks on a duly elected NC GOP chairman, moving from a party chairman to Supreme Court justices? Question mark. Somebody is getting a wee too big for his chinos. Now, stop right there. Okay, so, look, I agree with the Haymaker on this particular premise. I didn't like the way the Hassan Harnett removal, his being removed from the NCGOP chairman slot was. But that was over 2 years ago now, which is an eternity in the political world. And, really, the Haymaker needs to move on here. You can mention it, but still, you attack Dallas Woodhouse for actually standing up for once the Republican legislators and these constitutional amendments. It's just not a good thing. And then let's see, we have here. Okay. And then, okay. At the very bottom of the article, this is what really pissed me off. Brant Clifton, the author of the Daily Haymaker, he writes, none of the proposed constitutional amendments are actually necessary. They're actually a big, expensive get-out-the-vote tool aimed at the GOP base. Okay, look, sorry, Brant, but you are dead wrong on that. You know, I mean, the way I found this post yesterday, actually, I have a friend of mine who lives down in the, not going to mention any names, they ran for state legislature, and they live east of I-95, and I'll just leave it at that. But they post this, and then what do? And they say, well, what I just said, none of the proposed constitutional amendments are actually necessary. They're actually a big, expensive, get-out-the-vote tool aimed at the GOP base. And then they say, oh, bingo, you know. Look, the legislature has made some mistakes, but they've also done some good things. One of the things they did was they passed voter ID. And then what happens is the Democrats, which is if they don't get their way at the ballot box, they go to the courts and they sue. And unfortunately, on the voter ID issue, they won. Okay. So now, that was about 3-4 years ago now. Now, what the GOP legislators do is say, look, let's take this voter ID issue and let's take it to the voters. Do the voters want voter ID or do they not want voter ID? Okay? And, you know, they've asked the voter ID question at many of these polling firms. And, you know, they have polling firms that, you know, they've polled Republicans, Independents, Democrats, everybody across the board. And this particular amendment has always, majority of people want voter ID. And in just about all these polls, I mean, it's a landslide. It's like 70-75% want voter ID. Okay? So, you know, the Republicans passed this. The Democrats then say, okay, we're going to sue. And then, unfortunately, they won. So Republicans come back and say, look, let's take it to the voters. What on earth is wrong with putting this amendment and all the others, which are really good amendments? Another one is like capping the state income tax at 7%. It's another great one. There's a bunch of others, but this video would be too long. You know, the Daily Haymaker, what on earth is wrong with taking these constitutional amendments and letting the citizens of North Carolina, not just Republicans, but Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green Party, Constitution Party, the Volvo driving 10 under in the fast lane party, the coffee drinkers party, you know, the tote bag party. Okay, stop. But I think you get my drift. All voters in North Carolina are going to have, should hopefully, as long as this, you know, as long as this thing, you know, holds up in court, which I hope it will, all voters in North Carolina are going to be able to have a voice on these constitutional amendments. I mean, this piece by the Daily Haymaker is outlandish. It is probably one of the worst pieces I've ever read in this particular blog. And I have to say, you know, a big hat tip to Mr. Dallas Woodhouse, who was 100% correct on this very issue of constitutional amendments. Okay? This should hold up in court. But if it doesn't, you know what? Why not impeach the Supreme Court? They just did this in West Virginia. They had a Republican legislature. The court, unfortunately, activist liberal judges, and the legislature threw them out. Okay? You know? And another thing, why not stop with the judges? Why not impeach Governor Cooper, a.k.a. the Cooper Pooper? Because all he does is he sits on his ass, takes a dump on Republicans, and then when he's not taking a dump in the toilet, he is picking up his phone, and he's calling all his lawyer buddies, and he's just suing. That's all he does. He sits on the toilet, he does his business or he does legal lawsuit business. He's the Cooper Pooper. Okay? Whew. Alright, that's my rant. I'll see y'all later. As always, the Conservative Pelican. Please make sure you vote this election. And also vote yes on all these constitutional amendments. And please, if you're still bitter about losing a primary election, about, your candidate not winning a primary election, if you're still bitter about Hassan Hornet getting canned from his position as NCGOP chairman, get over yourself, okay? Life is too damn short to be bitter, okay? Really, get it together. Okay, bye-bye.